Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Loft. If you have not yet, please like, comment, subscribe. We did hit our goal of 1,000. Now we're going for 2,000. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back.
What's your advice to someone who is lost?
The opposite of addiction is connection, and I could never do this thing on my own.
I've been working since I was a kid. I just gotta keep my head.
That you're responsible for and that your name's attached to, do you feel like that gave you that responsibility to be better than you were?
That's when it all began. I don't need a rollie on my.
When you believe in yourself a little bit, you'd be surprised what could happen.
Yeah, I got them fed up for real. Riding around, but I'm the passenger now, cause Jesus don't touch them.
So our next guest is a bartender, DJ. Now I consider a very close friend. He's up and coming in the Philly nightlife industry, and like I said, I consider him a really close friend of mine. And JimmySix.
What up? What up?
What's up, man? Thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. This is a vibe. I've been waiting for this.
I know. I was trying to do the intro, but I couldn't take it seriously, man. We're just like you're my boy, bro.
It's homies, man. It's homies. Like,
yeah, but I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you. Just want to be on. I would want to have you on, and we talked about it a lot, like when we see each other out and stuff. So it's good to actually have you on. It's Monday, by the way, so we're hungover and we're just we have the essentials today.
we're going through it.
But yeah, just long weekends. But seriously, I know you have a lot to talk about, and honestly, like when I have the people from nightlife on, like I like to get into more about their why, and I think and from what we've talked about, I think your why is super important, and I think it should be talked about. And like I said, recently we just became really close, and just showing each other love at our gigs and just being out. And so I wanted to have you on, and like I said, I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. I think what you're doing is really important. You know what I mean?
Thanks, bro. So you just started DJing recently, right? So within the past year or so?
Yeah, so I'm actually not even a year into it yet.
Really?
Yeah, started in June. Well, I got my first controller in January of last year, but I've started actually DJing for money in June. And taking it seriously in June.
Sick. And so you were working you were still in nightlife, but then you were bartending, right?
Yeah, so I was bartending at JJ Bootleggers, and I got my first controller. I upgraded it. And I've always been around DJs. I've been bartending in the city for like 8 years, and I just was like, I would pay attention to the music, and I'd be like, yo, like that, I know exactly what song's coming next, or like how transitions were, and I started getting opportunities to open at JJ's. I was like, I'd open for an hour, and then I'd hop behind the bar, and then I'd go up and I'd play for like 30 minutes, and then I'd hop behind the bar again. And started taking it seriously. The job that gave me that opportunity is the first job I quit to start DJing too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Ironic, right? But I mean, dude, just from our conversations, like I can tell how passionate you are about it, and that's like one of the big things in DJing is like you have to love it, And so what triggered you to like actually go like full time with it? Like, was there something specific or?
So I don't know if it was a Russ quote. No, it wasn't a Russ. I was watching something on Instagram and TikTok. I love social media. I was watching a video, and basically it was along the lines of like, you don't want to wake up when you're 50 and be like, what if I put my all into something? Right. And I've been bartending like that. Once you figure out bartending, if you're a good bartender, like you always have that. I could be 80 years old behind the bar, flipping bottles, like talking to people, you know what I mean? But I've never pursued a passion. And I've always cared about music. I used to rap when I was younger, but I never did anything with it. And I was like, what if I put everything I had into one thing that I've if this didn't work, or if it doesn't, it's gonna work at this point. But if it didn't work, I can at least say I tried. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You know what though? Everyone has that confidence. Like when they talk about, because I've been watching a lot. I watch a lot of fights, like boxing, UFC. Yeah. And their interviews are so unique because I'm very interested in what they talk about, because a lot of times, you don't want to like think about losing, but you also have to think about losing, because it like the fear of failure, I think, is ultimately what pushes people to succeed. And for me, it's like, I don't know if my desire to be successful is stronger than my fear for failure. Like I don't like for me, like I don't. I want to do like be something so bad that I think that's what ultimately pushes me. I think that rather than the strength or the desire to be successful. And I think, like I said, when it comes to what you're trying to do with your life, the fear of failure, like I think it should always be there, but it shouldn't ever overcome you. It should always be there as that extra just push to, do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can relate to that in the sense of like, everybody's got a different version of success. Like when I started this, like getting a gig was my first version of success.
Right.
And I think that the fear of failure for me is like, I just don't want to put all my energy into something and then not have this be the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm going to do everything. I mean, I can see you're in the same boat, like, especially with the podcast. Like, I'm going to do everything it is in my power to make sure that this will be my form of success. And for me, that's being able to sustain a living and just wake up every day and enjoy what I do. Right. Talking to this Frank Nitty, shout out Frank Nitty. Yeah. He does like a day job and he's an amazing DJ.
Yeah.
And I said something about like, oh, like you having a drink tonight? He's like, I got work tomorrow, but whatever. And I asked him what he did, and he's like, I'm in medical device sales. Yeah. And I said, wow, that sounds really, really fun. And I wasn't trying to be a dick, but like, to me, like that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to wake up every day and like, I don't even want to have it feel like work. Tiesto has a quote, like, the day that DJing feels like work is the day that he'll stop and he'll never do it again. Yeah. And he's 50 years old. He's been doing this 45 years or something like that.
He sounds like he'll be going for a while. But yeah, no, it's true. And anytime you're starting something, there's sacrifices that have to come into play. Like, what if you do have a job during the week, like you need to sustain yourself somehow until you get to where you want to be. You know what I mean? Like, I know for me, like I had a 9 to 5 for a little while I was DJing and then also doing the podcast. And because I'm waiting now to, waiting for the Grace Project, the nonprofit, to go on salary. So that when I go on salary, that could be my way of living and DJing and all that stuff. And just like, I try not to look too far into the future. I try not to look too far into like putting pressure on myself. Like right now, I really enjoy doing this podcast. I really enjoy DJing, and I just enjoy being a part of that life, being in the nightlife. Like you said, you are nightlife, like you told me yesterday. Yeah. But like, I enjoy being out there, and I enjoy having that dynamic of doing all those different things. But it just takes time, and that's the important thing too. Is like you just can't rush anything. I
agree. I think being present is, and like I think that's another thing about success. Like, your success is relevant to where you are right now. Like if I was doing if I had a different job, a different interest I was pursuing, the idea of success would be way different. Yeah. And I think that, you do change all the time, and you should just do whatever makes you happy and whatever you really love. And like for you, like the nonprofit, like that's amazing what you're doing with that. Yeah. And like, you actually care about it, which is different. If you didn't care, like it'd be work. And I think that's like as a big idea is like the goal is like to never feel like you're working, to just do what you want and have it, have it make you money. Obviously sacrifices. Yeah. I think that's huge, man. That's like the word of 2022 for me.
Yeah. Sacrifice. I know I had Montone on the podcast recently, and we talked about it too. Like, finding your version of success, and it always changes. Like you said, getting your first gig. Like for me, for me, it's the same way almost. Like we can relate on that because I feel like we're in the same boat almost, right? Mm-hmm. And getting like my first gig at like Pace or something, or like something like that was huge for me. I'm like, because that's cool. It's like the next step. It's like showing that your work is paying off, and we talked a lot about sacrifices, yesterday when I went to go see at the Winston, and I know that you, like I said, you're in a huge transition part of your life, and with pursuing this career. So, making that step, was that tough for you to like fully commit to it?
Yeah, I think I've hit a couple like rock bottoms. I think you'll never actually hit a full rock bottom, in my opinion. I don't think there is one. There's gonna be a bunch of them. Right. You're always gonna go, like they say, success isn't linear. I think life isn't linear like that. Mm-hmm. And the transition, last year was really rough. I just basically gave up my job and said I can DJ, but then the next thing you know, I'm only working 2 days a week and doing nothing for the rest of the week. And so I had no money, and I was wasting my time, and I started filling that up with more opportunities I was getting, trying to make more money. I think money is pretty important, at least in my opinion, for security. And I think if you're not secure, it makes it harder. Yeah. And then, this year I started getting different opportunities within music and learning how to produce and stuff like that. And I think the transition right now is just like, I need to make sure that this is the only thing on my mind and the only thing I worry about. And it's hard, man. It is, because I've made some difficult decisions recently, and I've had more time and opportunity, but I haven't necessarily utilized it. And we were talking yesterday, like, you got to process life at the same time as working on yourself and your career. And, it's balancing and juggling all these things at once to be a good person to your friends, to your family, to your coworkers, and, to yourself.
At the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure it out, and understanding that you are in that period of your life and acknowledging it, that it's going to be tough is good, because you can't, the more you push it off, it builds, and then it hits you all at once. So it's easier to say, okay, right now I'm in a state where I might not have the most gigs, but this is an opportunity for me to have more free time to pursue that. You use that free time, you just channel. Instead of, this girl Carly has a food prep, food prep business, and we were talking about like weight loss and like taking care of your body, and instead of telling yourself what you need to cut out, you should start telling yourself what you need to put in, and that way you're not looking at it negatively. So you have more time. Now you have more time to do things. Maybe you have more time to send emails. Maybe you have more time to work on mixes. You have more time to invest in yourself, rather than saying, you know what, I need to focus on the negatives of what you need to take out, maybe, you know what I mean? So instead of focusing, I don't have a job, I don't have this, I don't have that, to say, now I have more time to do these certain things. And then you find out naturally through life, because we're creatures of evolving, right? We always want to get better. So now you're going to find out, like, oh, now that I have all this free time, I can do these things now. I can, so it's all about how you your mind on it. And I don't know if you've listened to other ones, but I say this every single episode, and I will get this on a t-shirt one day. But I always say, my grandma always says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's all about perspective.
I've been holding back saying that, bro. I think perspective is huge. I'm not even lying. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have like 6 or 7 eyes on my body. And the reason I started getting eyes on myself was because I think that you need to be able to see things through everybody's perspective. And even though your perspectives might not line up, you can acknowledge it and, make decisions based off that. Perfect. You want to see everything positively, and I'm trying to, I think me personally, my day to day, I'm trying to do that. It's definitely tough. You have your off days, but if you look at it in the right mindset and you take care of yourself and you do things that you might not normally do, looking at it as a positive perspective, right, I think it could do wonders for you mentally and obviously like with food, physically, stuff like that. Yeah. So
now that you have time, what are you doing to take care of yourself?
I think I'm definitely spending a lot more time in my head.
Just taking care of yourself mentally, or
analyzing mental decisions, kind of making sure that I'm good, because if I'm not good for me, I'm not good for anybody else. And I think that I put up something today on Instagram. I've always been a people pleaser, and that comes from my family. Like, my mom's always been like that. And I think being a people pleaser has a lot of positives, but a lot of negatives. And I'm trying to learn that it's okay to put myself first. And that's mentally, I'm really doing that in my everyday life right now. Yeah. And that's my next evolution is actually giving a fuck about myself, Yeah. And I, it's helped me out mentally because my confidence goes up. My relationships with people are more genuine. They're not based off of me just doing. Yeah. So yeah, I've just been really been in my head. I feel like I used to run from my thoughts.
You know where that comes from though? That confidence, it comes from exactly what you just said, investing in yourself. You know, because when you have your thing, you have that leg to stand on. You have that thing, that thing you're building, whether it's your platform for DJing or whatever, you're building that thing for yourself. So you have something to fall back on. You're not just following everybody else. You're not trying to be a part of what everyone else is doing. You know that at the end of the day, you have JimmySix, you have who you are as a person, you have your story, which is super important. And that's something I've been trying to be more vocal about myself, is just my story, because before, for a while, I didn't really think I had one. And then when you sit back and realize like, yeah, you have like your bad days and you just realize like you actually do. Like I remember the one I did a podcast one time and how the loft changed my life, and that's from when I lost my job. I lost my job that day and I sat in front of a camera for an hour and just talked about my life. I'm like, why am I allow everyone to come on and tell their stories, but I realized I never told mine. And so I sat in front of the camera and just like got emotional and just talking about my life, and like I really reflected on a lot of things. I wasn't sad, I wasn't mad, I was just very like grateful in that moment. And I think that's super important because in and out, that's something that I own. You know, everything that I go through, I own that. And you know, when it comes to relationships, like like you have your story and so does everyone else. Just because someone has their story doesn't make yours any less notable or less worthy. It's you. You know what I mean? And so where are you from, bro?
I'm from Maine, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm so raspy from yesterday. No, so I was born in Jersey, and then when I was 5, I moved to Maine, and I lived there until I was 16.
That's lit.
Honestly, man, it was it's a lot. I used to come from a school with 750 kids, and now I went to a high school that had 3,000. So I've gone through a lot of different situations, like living wise. Yeah. Lived in Maine on a beach, lived in Maine on a mountain. I grew up with my mom and my sister, so I've had full family. I've had just my mom and my sister. I've had, when I moved to Bethlehem, I had people living with me, like friends. My mom used to let people live with us. Yeah. And again, that's where perspective kicks in, man. Like, I'm blessed for that.
Sounds like you've been through a lot, bro.
I have, man. I have. A lot of losses. Had a lot of positive stuff, but a lot of losses and a lot of family, you know.
So your family situation, you have your mom. What's your mom's name?
Dana.
Hi, Dana. Hi, mom. Your sister too.
My sister Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie. How old Stephanie?
She is 4 years, so she's 31.
Okay,
yeah, 31.
Older sister. Okay.
Yeah.
So are they in Philly or no?
My sister's in Reading, and my mom moved back to Maine.
Oh, wow. So what made you come to Philly then?
So the honest explanation was I wasn't doing shit with my life, and I felt bad. And I was like, I need to get out of my comfort zone. I was living, so I got a lot of random fun facts about me. I didn't actually finish high school.
Really?
Yeah, I actually got my GED.
Okay.
So I got my GED because I was working all the time. I was working because my mom didn't have money to give me, and I always wanted to go spend money. So I started working when I was 14 in Maine, came to Pennsylvania, started working at Five Guys, was working there literally 5-6 days a week with school, just to be able to have money for anything, for food, for anything that I wanted to do that my mom couldn't afford.
Right.
And then I went from there to Logan's Roadhouse, across the street, and I just wasn't spending any time doing schoolwork. Like, and the thing is like I'm amazing at taking tests. Like I'm really good at taking tests, but if you don't go to school, you get zeros.
Right.
So I went through 2 years where I got a lot of zeros, and I would pass the class, but they would give me zeros for the day. So I basically wasn't making progress. I wasn't going to school.
Right.
So I did cyber school. That didn't work out. I did a half a semester for my senior year, and I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. Like, I need to work. And then I was working and doing nothing but staying at my mom's. It was like the same cycle over and over again. And I went to Temple a couple times, and my buddy was like, well, dude, we have a room for $450. If you want to move in, like, come, just move here.
Yeah.
So I got some money together and started working. When I came down here on a Saturday, by that Sunday, I had a job at the Draft Horse.
Oh yeah,
you remember the Draft Horse?
Yeah, good, R.I.P. Good spot.
Yeah, it used to be. That's like the birth of me in Philly. Cause like, bro, I never used to be extroverted. I never used to be like the life of the party, fun, like talking to everybody, dapping everybody. Like that never used to be me. Like I used to be in my room all the time. Like I used to be a big pothead. So I'd just be smoking in my room, like writing raps, like by myself. Like that was all I did.
Damn.
And yeah, I moved here, changed my fucking life.
So here we are, bro. Yeah. How old were you moved to Philly?
20 years old.
Okay. Wow. That's a little, okay. So you started at Draft Horse. I actually went to Temple. I don't know if you knew that, but I graduated at Temple in
no shit.
2019. Yeah,
Dude, I was at the Horse when you were there then.
we probably crossed paths a few times. You probably served me some drinks. Probably gave me my big ass Bud Light pounders and shit. But
every Wednesday, man. That was me.
Yeah, it's almost good. But really, so wow. Okay, so now, so you have your own place now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so when you're not when you're at home, what are you doing during the week? Just hustling.
Dude, I have like the craziest like schedule because it's just all dedicated towards my dog. Literally, like this is without a doubt every single day. If it's nice, as long as it's not raining, and if it's raining, we go on a walk instead.
Yeah,
I wake up around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock every day.
Yeah,
about 9:30, between 9:30 and 10:30, I go to the dog park every single day, and I stop and I grab a coffee, and then I go to the dog park. We stay there for about an hour, come back, and then what I fall off on is I have a really bad OCD. So when I come home, like if stuff's not like perfectly clean, like I'll spend what I want to be 10 minutes cleaning, and an hour or two goes by. Try and make it to the gym. I've kind of been inconsistent with that, but it's dog, clean, gym, music, and I get FOMO. So if it's nice out, if there's something to do, I like to go out as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and then if I work in between too, bartending or something.
Nice.
But I'm trying to dedicate more time to like staying home and doing production. I want to add that into my routine.
Yeah, that's dope. So, who did you first meet to get into like the industry? I know you worked at JJ's, but like who was your first step into the scene?
I would say there's a couple. Joey Katz, Tonka 9. I actually didn't meet Smooth till I was already DJing, but Smooth definitely is, especially recently, he's been one of my mentors. Yeah. But Joey Katz, man, shouts out to Joey. Like he doesn't get enough love. Yeah. He gave me a bunch of music. He showed me how to mix. Well, no, mixology taught me how to mix, like how to clean in and out transitions. Yeah. But like Joey was the one that gave me like the opportunity to even play there for an hour. And then as I kept going, Mark, the owner, noticed it, and like they were pushing me to be on for an hour every time. They gave me my first gig ever there. But yeah, man, Joey, he's a good dude.
Yeah,
really good
I met him at on Patty's Day. I did a set with him, and he's a really good guy. He's a good dude, and just super nice dude. I actually started like I would come to JJ's every Thursday, and I started meeting like Nicole, Tori, and all them. So like we guys started getting close with Nicole, and just good people, man. So shout out to JJ's. So as you began to like DJ and stuff like that, so when did you really start to fall in love with it?
I started to fall in love with it when I got my SX2, to be honest. Okay. I made my first little video of me trying to like make transitions and like hitting hotkeys and all this stuff. So I got this small Hercules controller, and then I was like, this isn't it. And I bought an SX2 for $500 from some girl, got it in Jersey at the shore. She drove it back up, and it was like, I turned it on, and there was like all these lights and stuff, and I was like, this is a real piece of equipment. Like this is no joke. Yeah. And I got better when I got it, I started getting better at mixing. And once I started getting better at mixing, I was like, the feeling was addicting because I knew I was onto something. Yeah. And then as I would say my first Sunday fun day at Winston on the Water, just like seeing people, I had a lot of DJs there, and seeing DJs react positively to what I was doing, like was like a reaffirmation or affirmation. Affirmation. That like I'm not just like in my head about it, like, and because music I've always loved, man. I've always loved music. I've been the guy that like, if I'm driving, like I don't want to hear you talk, I want to listen to music. It's kind of annoying, but it's
And you're like you're a house guy, so
huge house head, man.
So when you fall in love with that?
Dude, house music for me was actually part of the reason I moved to Philly too was I used to go to raves at what's it called? It's
Fillmore?
No, the Ave before it was Soundgarden, bro. Okay. I listened to dubstep in 2013 and like all that kind of crazy shit. Yeah. But like I never really listened to it often. I was all rap, all hip hop. And my friend Emily back home in Bethlehem, they used to go to raves all the time, like raves, so concerts all the time, shows.
Yeah.
And I went to my first Excision show, and I'll never forget this. 150,000 watts of bass. It was at the Electric Factory, and not only was I vibing with everybody before, but like he had this intro, and it's like these gears grinding and all these bass noises and shit.
Yeah.
And I took a breath in, and I felt my whole body shake, and I was like, I don't know if I can stay here right now. And like I exhaled, and it was like any stress or any bullshit like literally like vibrated out of my body. And that was like dubstep. And as I used to, as I got older, I stopped caring about the heavy drops, and I was more about like, I just want to groove. Like I just want to move around. Like I want to. When I hear like a dirty bass line, like I just smile naturally.
Yeah.
Or like I get that stank face. Like
that's why. That's why when I've been like diving into that music, and I sent you some stuff. Like you ready to get fired up?
Yeah, bro. That's what'd you send me?
It was The Music Begins. The music begins to play.
Yup.
The music. Sorry,
bro, it's a vibe.
if you know, you know. But nah, it's a vibe. That, like, that's the kind of music I recently started getting into too. It's like because you just feel it. Like it's just a vibe. You know.
That's the perfect way to do it. It's a vibe. Like this is my thing. Like music puts you somewhere, right? And like circle back to the why. Like I think one of the things that music like. I've struggled with depression, bipolar, like all different types. My mom, like a lot of stuff in my mental, and I've always turned to music. And so it's been so important to me. I'm feeling down. I'd put on like Mac Miller. I'd put on what is it, Kids?
Yeah.
And
GMT and shit.
I put that on, bro, and it's like all my worries and like all my stress would just like fade. And then with house music, it's a vibe. Like when I put house music on, I smile, I move, I get energy. Like I want to talk to people, like I want to dance. Like that's the kind of vibe. Like that's what music does for me, and I want to do that to other people. And
that's what you found to have loved is like just the being out, the being social aspect. And it's interesting that before you weren't that. So now like you are like that's really what you're into. That's what you do, and you're always out. And even like bro, when I started like to meet you, I just noticed you're always like just a good energy to be around. So like if a good energy just naturally gravitates towards each other, it's even like why like me and Bobby got really close when he moved in and shit like that, and Chris and all that stuff. And it's like just good energy just attracts. And like we've like I know speaking for us, we formed like a pretty good friend group over the past like few months. So it's like. People that you would never expect are just now we're all just super close, and so for you, like what's your circle look like, and how moving from being in Bethlehem, being in Maine, like do you still keep in touch with those people and
well, so that's what's crazy. So I've such a big friend group that unfortunately one of the things that I've always wanted that I haven't ever like fully had is I haven't had like those kids that I've known since grade school that like we've been best friends forever. Like I don't have a group of people that like we go on a guys trip or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like what I like went through was I went through such a low, and I've seen what like being in a bad space and like a lonely space kind of does. And the friends that I had back in Bethlehem and back in Maine, they were all good people, but the friendships were organic in the moment. And as I grew, I kind of outgrew the friendships. And my circle now, my longest friends, like family to me, Cynthia and Jason, all the people from the Draft Force pretty much. Cynthia, Jason, Jason's whole friend group, dude. They're Northeast like you. Feasterville, Trevose, Brendan, Charlton's really cool too. Like they kind of brought me in on their friend group, and their friend group has been best friends since like literally like third grade. And so I see stuff like that and I'm like, that's wild, because I'm close with them, but like not, you know what I mean?
I mean that stuff's overrated, bro. When you get to a certain age, like I know, so I have friends that I grew up with since grade school, like for a while, and the one just moved to San Diego with his fiance. The one's moving with his girlfriend in Jersey. My boy Cook just bought a house in Northeast, and like we're kind of just, we're not growing apart. We're just, our lives are going in different directions, and I've understood that. But they always show love to me whenever I put something out or whatever. They always show like we have that connection, you know. But that's also too like some of your closest friends. It's more so about the connections you have, and not the length of time only contributes to the amount of experiences, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you can have friends for years, but I've known people who have lost friends they've had their entire lives over stupid shit like politics or something like that. It's more so about how the people that come in your life make you feel, and that's more important to me than time. Only thing time attributes to is the experiences you have. So it's all about the time you put in the people, and that's what builds the friendships. You know what I mean? It's time. And I always used to think that I needed to be friends with the people I grew up with in Northeast, and I've learned that it is suffocating, it's toxic, and it's just, you're not doing yourself any good. You know, when you branch out, when you start meeting people like you're from Maine, like the odds of us ever being friends like was small because you were in Maine, and it still brought you onto the loft. You know what I mean? So it's like, it just, shit happens the way it's supposed to, and it's energy. You know, the kind of person you are, we just get along well. So it's like, that's more important than us knowing each other since we were in third grade.
No, I agree with that. I think,
but I know what you're saying though.
Yeah, like, so dude, like, you know my circle. Like, so my circle for the viewers is like, I have you, I have Bobby, I have Smooth, I have Nine. And I always call our DJ friends by their DJ name because that's how I first met them.
Yeah,
I've never called them like by the government. I don't know why. So yeah, you, Smooth, Nine, Tonka, Nico, Scooter, like just that whole group. Kurt. Dude, it's like there's so many to even count, and it's like that. The reason I surround myself with them is because, you know, they're all. There's no drama, there's no bullshit. Like, we're all just on a vibe. Like, we're all just like doing what we love every day. So it's kind of hard to be mad, you know. And exactly. I think I've had. I mean, I'll circle back. Like, I've had so many negative experiences that all I want is positive. And right now, just so you know, I hope you adopt this for this year. 2023 is the year of happiness in any way you can find it. Every second of your day. Now, you're going to have bad days, but every second of your day should be devoted to finding peace and happiness within yourself.
I like that. I like that a lot. And something I've been trying to add too is like consistency. Everyone always asks me, what are your goals? What are you trying to do this year for the pod? What are you trying to do for DJing or the Grace Project? Consistency. Because the consistency breeds everything else. The consistency breeds the curiosity to buy a new mixer. The consistency breeds the curiosity to get new microphones, cameras, etc. Whatever part of your life you want to attribute to, the consistency, no matter what. And
you're so true, bro.
You know, it goes with everything. You know, so you mentioned you've been in some dark times and you've had some struggles. I really want to dive deep into that. You know, and I really want to know like your why, your purpose. I know now you found your passion for music and DJing, but I really want to dive into the why. You know what I mean? So like, when you were going through some of your struggles, like what are some things that you've had in your life going on that like put you in those places?
So, like starting from like real young, parents getting divorced. You know, I feel like everybody's parents get divorced nowadays, but parents got divorced when I was 5, and my mom, she got remarried, and then that's when we moved to Maine because he was in the Army. So he was stationed in Massachusetts.
Right.
So we moved to Maine. You know, first round, it's like, okay, I'm young enough that I can meet people, but like I went through a transition where I wasn't really ready to go to another place, and I had to fit in. Right. Then I'm in Maine. When I was 13, my mom and her husband at the time, they split up. My mom went through this crazy depression, like so bad. She attempted to take her own life, and I didn't even know at the time. But she got taken away from her job. Actually, I said that backwards. That happened when I was really young. That happened when I was 5. But she basically got fired from her job for being depressed and not being able to come to work. And no money coming in. We were going to get the house foreclosed on. We had a friend from when I was 5 move up to Maine to live with us, only to commit suicide 2 weeks later. And we found her in her apartment. A lot of loss, man. A lot of loss. Best friend died in a car crash. Yeah, a lot of loss, man. And I process it all a little bit differently. I like to think that for me, I'm so used to losing people that like when someone passes away, it doesn't really affect me. I mean, obviously subconsciously it will, but life goes on. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, when you lose somebody, what it does is you can handle it in two ways. You can shut down and you can say fuck the world and you can just not do anything and be depressed and be sad, or you can think about that person and what they want you to be doing. And I feel like I've lost so many people so important to me that my why is I don't want any of them to be looking down on me and think that I'm wasting my life or wasting my time. I'm doing what I do for them, for my mom, for myself, you know, and I want them to be able to be looking up wherever they are and be like, damn, he's really doing what he loves. He's really doing this thing, you know.
That's awesome. And I think they're following your journey. And with your mom, how close are you with your mom?
Really fucking good. Dude, I talk to her like 3 hours every week on the phone, yeah. I don't see her a lot, but I talk to her so much. It's my best friend.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you were, processing those losses, how did you process it? What was your, and I know it's a lifelong, processing, but, when you first lost your friend, like, what was going through your mind?
This sucks. No, it's could I have done something different? I left out a big one. My neighbor, this is like the biggest one I went through is this is all when I was in Maine. Maine was fucking, it was beautiful.
How old were you during this?
I was 13 or 14. I'll never forget this. I came home from school. My mom was working, or no, my mom was at like a doctor's appointment or something. I came home from school and I had this weird feeling, and my neighbor who was my age called me and said, hey, have you seen my mom? The cops were just here and just said that they heard gunshots on Mount A. They're just making sure everybody's okay, but like, I don't know why they're at my house. And I was like, no, I haven't seen anybody. I just got home. Like, I don't know, maybe try calling her or whatever. So I get off the phone and I immediately call my mom and I'm like, Mom, like, I think something really bad happened. And these people, my neighbors, were like my second family. Like, my neighbor currently lives with my mom, like now, back in Maine.
Oh, wow.
We're real close with them. They were like my second family. And I knew it happened. I knew what had happened beforehand, and she took her own life. And we all just shut down. Like, you think about, like, could I have done something? Could I have changed anything? How I talked to them? What was the last thing I said to them? And you just kind of beat yourself up and you eat it yourself.
Yeah.
And as I grew up and realized shutting down wasn't helping anything, talking about it helps. And just keep going. Like I said, like, think about what they would want you to be doing.
Yeah.
And so for a couple of years, I was just quiet. Like, I was just to myself. I smoked. Drugs were pretty much a coping mechanism. Smoking weed all the time. I was on Xanax at the time. And yeah, just shutting down. But it doesn't help.
Right. Is there anything that positive that you've taken from those experiences and life-changing events that, like, you bring into your life now? Is there a new sense of, like, appreciation and, like, just gratitude? Like, what do you take from those experiences into your life now?
I value all my relationships a lot more. Like I said, I'm learning to not be just a people pleaser, but it made me really go above and beyond for the people that I care about. It made me a better person because I appreciate life more. Yeah, that's pretty much, and it also taught me how to cope with loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that have never lost somebody, and when they do, it's like the worst thing. And like, I think about, if I didn't go through that when I was young and it happened to me now, with like being an adult, I have no idea what I'd do. Like, I was lucky enough to have the comfort of, like, my mom helped me out and my family was there for me, and, other people that were young and trying to figure it out too. Like, we had to grow up quick.
Yeah.
So I have a really big appreciation for life, for relationships, for experiences, that I think a lot of people take for granted. You know?
And it's good that you think that now. Like I said, I always think that those experiences, like growing up, they ultimately do form who you become today. And first of all, I'm sorry that should happen to you. You know, it's it sucks. Honestly, it really, really sucks. And is your dad in your life at all?
No.
Yeah.
I last time I saw my dad, I got an inheritance from his father. Last time I saw my dad, I was 18, and he had no idea who I was. I showed up on his door. I had messaged him, and I think either it was letters or through like phone calls. And I showed up at his door and I knocked, and I kind of wanted to see him. I wanted to see what that was like, how it would be. And he knew who my sister was, but had no idea who I was.
Really?
Yeah. It was actually one of the best wake-up calls for me, because my dad wasn't really my dad. 5 years. I was so young. Like, I don't remember that. But, like, my mom, like, the guy that my mom was married to when we went to Maine, he was, like, the one that he was actually he's in the Army. He taught me the little bit of knowledge I have about discipline, about routine, structure. It's like my mom was so, like, laid back, and he was just, like he was the structure and she was the chill one,
right. Yeah.
And I think you need that balance in life. So I consider him like a father, but I haven't seen him since I was 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I think about a lot too, is your family are the only people you consider family are the ones who choose you. The ones who I've disassociated a lot of, like, I think a lot of it is more than just blood, but like, so I'll tell you this. So speaking about dads, if you're listening to this, I guess you deserve to know at this point. I mean, so I found out when I was 23 that I was adopted. That my biological dad, wasn't my biological dad, like, straight up. And I found out, and it, like, completely changed my life. Like, it completely changed how I thought about relationships, how I thought about people, and how I thought about just being a dad. You know what I mean? It's like people who just, like, choose you, and my mom was 3 months pregnant with me and my twin sister, and he, like, just started dating my mom, and she found out she was pregnant and told him, and he just, at 21 years old, just took us in completely, went to every meeting, went to everything. Whereas like my, Greg, whatever, fuck him, he didn't show up to any meetings. He told my mom, I'm sorry I ruined your life, all this shit. And it's like, I gained a lot of, and learning that at 23, I was able to process that a little bit better. Whereas I think if I was younger, it wouldn't have, it would have been a little difficult. But the ultimate thing that it taught me is, one, that family are the people who choose you. And two, it's like, I truly learned that, like, everything that I want to do in my life is because of me. I don't have a dad that, I want to, like, that I grew up, like, from him. So, like, I'm naturally want to be like him. Yeah, I always want to be like him in some way. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? That, like, everything that I do in my life, it kind of gave me validation that, like, I am going in the right direction because it's me. I know my dad didn't have a podcast, a great podcast growing up. But, like, it's like, or he wasn't a DJ or some shit like that. It's like, it's everything, like, it's like that chip on your shoulder type of thing where it's like, oh, this is, like, I'm doing it because of me. Well,
and you got to have an appreciation for who was in your life. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And who was willing to, like, be there for you in that situation. Like, obviously, like, they probably didn't mean to not tell you in a negative way. Yeah. It was just trying to protect you from going through that when you're so young.
For sure. Absolutely.
And that's just out of straight love and care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wasn't mad, bro. I wasn't mad at all. I had no animosity in my body. If anything, it was the complete opposite. It's just, it's who I am. Like, like I said, perspective. I just looked at it like, they love me enough to have me, and my mom loved me enough to want to be in my life regardless. And, like, she was ready to be a single mom, and she luckily found my dad who just loves her to death. And and I'm fortunate enough to where I see love on the different side, whereas you may see it a little differently because of how you grew up. Like, I see how close my mom and my dad are, and how much he loves her and just, like, wants to be in her life. So I cherish that entirely. And people who maybe have not grown up with that, I'm just super curious as, like, their views on that type of stuff, just, like, relationships and, like, and all that. But I want to transition into, have you ever, we mentioned, like, the things you went through with other people in your life, taking their lives and stuff. Have you ever been to a point where you felt like that was an option for you?
Yeah, but I'm too much of a pussy to do that. If I'm being honest, like, that's just the straight answer. I don't have the guts to do that, and also, going through it, I would never put anybody in that situation. I don't care if you're my worst enemy. I would never put anybody in a situation where they have to sit and wonder, could they have done something? Could they have been there? Did they say something wrong? What's the last thing they said to them? Like, it's just selfish. Yeah. And I think, like, I'm the furthest thing from it. And I don't ever want, that's why it's so hard to say no to people. It's so hard to not be a people pleaser in my eyes. Cause like, dude, I'm telling you, literally, like, to piggyback off of what you said and to go and to, you know, go where I was saying is like, I've had people literally live with me, like live with my family, just my mom, my sister, and my friends in my house. Like we have people that would go to see my mom just to go see my mom and talk to my mom. Yeah. And I think family's fluid. I think that your family's always going to change. Yeah. And you obviously have your biological family, but your family are the people that actually care about you, that check in on you, that are in your life either daily or, you know, they, even if they're not in your day-to-day life, they're still in your life and they care about your well-being and you being happy. And, you know, I think that's always going to change. I think that there's going to be, you're going to have different chapters of your life and your chapter might change and your family might change in a different chapter. But at the end of the day, it's just those people that really do care about you and you care about them enough to really worry about them. It's people that you will be selfless for. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And that's the one thing I learned too is like through the Grace Project is like the most humane thing in the world we can do as people is to give to someone else without expecting anything in return. And I genuinely enjoy that. And I think that's like being out there truly gave me an appreciation for just just being there for other people, because there's times where, you know, you go through those dark times where you feel like you kind of are helpless and you don't have those people who can help you. So it's always good to like be that for somebody no matter what.
Well, I think it's crazy that people do stuff for themselves or do like nice things for themselves
for sincere reasons.
Just like it's like my mom's ex-husband was a narcissist, diagnosed narcissist. He had it was narcissist and multiple personality disorder. And it's crazy because I've gone through times in my life and I think you got to check yourself and remind yourself of your why and who you are and why you're doing the things you're doing, why you're treating people the way you're treating them. And I went through a period of my life, at least, that I called my mom and I was literally in tears. I was like, am I a narcissist? And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I can't really distinguish if I'm doing things for other people so I look like a better person or if I'm doing things because I'm a nice person. And one thing my mom told me that really stood out, she was like, if you're even thinking that, you're not a narcissistic person. Like right. you legitimately care, you know? Yeah. And it blows my mind that there are people out there, and mind you, it's a medical condition. Like it is like, one thing I learned about your brain is like a giant server rack. It's like a giant mixer. And you got to have your XLRs plugged in the XLRs and your Ethernet plugged into your Ethernet. And if it's not, if your Ethernet's in your XLR, you're not going to get sound. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so miswired brains, you can't even fathom it. Like we can't fathom what it'd be like to literally every single move you make is for someone else. Yeah. And I think one of my biggest forms of happiness, and you know, I could tell with you in the Grace Project, it's like doing things for other people makes me feel good. Yeah. And it's not, I don't want other people to think I'm doing it to get anything out of them. I'm doing, but I am getting something out of it because I feel good knowing that I made you feel good.
It's like kind of like selfish in a way, but not really.
But it's not. Yeah. But it's, you know what I mean? It's you're obviously going to do it more because when you do realize that like being nice to people, that doing good things for people, that putting people first, it has a good feeling attached to it. And it's not because you're getting anything out of it. Right. You might go broke helping someone out, but if you're at least helping someone out, at the end of the day, you could say, I feel good about that. Like I literally could have changed someone's life.
Yeah, man. And that's what it all boils down to is like just when I know that someone else is taken care of, I feel good. It's just all I need. I like to take care of other people and just show that like they're there for them, you know? Because like I said, there's times where I had those moments where I felt like no one was there for me, and it's one of the most lonely things in the world. And then like it's just in me to not ever want to have someone feel like that, you know. But you know, transitioning into more so what you care about and what you value, what do you value most in your life today?
Relationships, people, happiness. I think those three, I think they all go hand in hand. I know that I get a lot of my happiness seeing other people happy and being happy with like good energy, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that, like you just said, being alone is the worst. Feeling alone is the worst. I feel like a lot of people, I know I do, I feel like a lot of people struggle with it, and it puts them in a bad place, and we don't know how to be alone. We're constantly stimulated. Instagram, TikTok, you know, our text messages, everything. You can interact with people on and like their stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a real interaction, but it's through a screen. It's like we just have that need for it. And for me, having an organic relationship with people and talking with people and, you know, learning from people.
Yeah.
Those are like, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've been valuing the relationship I have with myself recently, you know, and it sounds crazy to say that, but, like I said, when I did that podcast about how the LOFT saved my life, I did that. I had that awakening almost where I needed to build a better relationship with myself, you know, because at the end of the day, you need to fill your own cup too. So if you're going around and you're, you know, constantly helping everybody, you're kind of too present. You're kind of just too much there, and you're not there for yourself, you know. And then that's why it's good to, whether it's step away or whether it's, you know, just to choose yourself essentially for certain things, you know. That's super important. So like moving forward in your life, like what are your aspirations? Like what do you really want to do with your life?
I want to be the Mac Miller that I had when I was going through shit to everybody that I can. I want to change people's lives with music. That song that just came out, John Summit, Where You Are.
Yeah.
That song makes me feel so good. Like I want to cry happy tears when I hear that song. Like I play it like 2-3 times a night. It's that good. And it makes you feel something. And I want to make people feel something. And to me, I need to learn how to produce better. And actually, you know, I think you touched on consistency earlier. Like, dude, it's the hardest thing in life. I'm an inconsistent person and I hate it. But it's, you know, you just got to keep trying. Yeah. But my aspiration is to get better with music production and be able to make people feel something with house music, because I think house music is one of the happiest genres. Yeah, can be dark, but it's typically happy, you know, genre. Yeah. And I want to make music that people can put on when they're going through some shit or when they just want to have a good time. And I want my music to affect them in a positive way. And I want to express myself with music.
So just curious, why do you want, like, where is that desire from wanting people just to feel something? Where does that desire come from?
Because I know how much it helped me out when I was going through something bad. You know, I think I think there's a difference between being, you know, a people pleaser and also just like wanting to be a positive impact on other people.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it kind of helps me out. It'll help me out, you know, monetarily, but it also just, like I said, it's like doing things for other people feels good. Yeah. And so I want to put music out there that can maybe save somebody's life. Right. You know, maybe they were in a bad place and it puts them in a better place. Yeah. You know, I want to spread my positivity and vibe to people that need it, because I think there's a lot of people that need it and don't speak up. Yeah. And it could be real random. It could be a funny video. It could be a sound Spotify clip, or, you know what I mean, like song that randomly pops up. But music changes people's lives, and it can bring people out of some really dark places. And, you know, damn, I think I just discovered you just really like solidified my why to myself talking about all this. Like, I think I just found like I've always thought since I started this that this is my purpose, but like talking about it in the context of like why I'm doing what I'm doing, you just kind of like, I just told myself that, damn.
You did that, not me. I didn't do shit.
You guided me. Did you go to school for like psychology or something?
No.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just a kid from Northeast Philly, bro. That's all I am.
That's crazy.
I think one of the moments I had for me, for kind of that's helped solidify like me and what I'm doing is, you know, for this podcast specifically, there's this woman, I talk about it all the time, very vocal about it, just because of how much it meant to me. So when you're doing something, right, you're not gonna have people always saying, like you're not gonna hear comments from everybody. You're not gonna hear, like, you're kind of like, for me, I'm very like tunnel vision. I'm just like, I'm doing this because I enjoy it. I like connecting with people, and I just like to enjoy it, right? You don't really care about the rest of it. And I had a woman tell my mom one day, she's my mom's neighbor, and it's probably say around 6 months ago, or a year ago, something like that. I had a guest on, and this woman recently lost her son to an overdose, like that Christmas, right, when it came out, and she told my mom that she said to her that she falls asleep to the podcast. She listens to it every night. And I didn't put an episode out last week, and she texted my mom wondering where it was and shit like that. And like, you know, but she told my mom that she falls asleep to the podcast because of what it does for her and her mind, then clears her mind for her to process, you know, losing her son, you know. And that, for me, it took me a little bit to recover from that, because it's like something I started from nothing, and you build it. You take the time, the energy, and consistency, and it naturally becomes something without even you realizing it. And it was the most humbling thing I think I've ever like experienced in my life, because it's just like, because it's something you enjoy doing, and it resonates with someone. And I think that's kind of what you were hinting at with your music. And like, it was one of the best feelings ever. And like, I always chase that feeling now. I always chase the helping people, the giving people the opportunity to, whether it's to speak about their story, or whether for someone to listen to someone else's story. And not the amount of times I hear, you know, people will text me like, oh, the people are loving the pod. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, you did a great job. Like, and like, yeah, like people are like, yeah, I never knew that about you before. Like shit like that. You know what I mean? So like I enjoy that shit. Like, that's cool to me. And like, and yeah, it was just one of the most humbling experiences of my life. And like, so my advice to you, I would say, is to chase that, you know, and chase it just through what you love first. Do what you love first, and not people please or cater, because you're always gonna have people who, you know, want to do it the way they want it to, but at the end of the day, it's not them doing it. You know, you found, you know, it's become something because it's decisions you made. You know, I think that's something I struggled with. I know we talked about imposter syndrome a little bit, and realizing like, hey, like, I did this, like, this is something I did. I struggle with that every single day, bro. Yeah. Like, that's like, for me to think that, like, you know, I have this, right, and the DJing and how far, like, you know, I've come is like, yeah, you did fucking do it, and you did it the right way, and you did it because you care about it, and you care about other people, you know. And I was gonna ask you, like, so you kind of have imposter syndrome too, right?
Yeah. well, like, I don't know about you. I'm terrible at taking compliments. Like, I'm really bad at it. I'm like, thanks,
yeah,
thank you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I have a hard time, like, I don't like cocky people. I don't like conceitedness, and so I think I downplay myself a lot. Where I'm at, where I'm going, my opportunities. But I'm still really grateful. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think, like, I'll get all the time, you know, people. I'm blessed to have people come up and say, "Dude, your set was great," or, you know, and I'm like, is it too good to be true? Like, what's the catch?
Yeah,
like, it was good, but what wasn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that when I played for Valentino Khan, when I opened that gig, when I did Chris Lake, like, those experiences show me how grateful I am for what I'm doing, and that my hard work is paying off, and it's hard to do that, to like appreciate that in public, but like when I go to sleep at night, I have a lot of, my reflection usually comes when I'm walking Rona in the morning, and you know, that hour is for me and my dog, but mostly her, but like I get a lot of mental out of that. And I reflect on things like, damn, dude, like I just did Sunday, like Ryan at the Winston, like, he's telling every DJ, like, that's my brunch. Nobody can DJ that brunch. It's Jimmy's. He can build it up. He's going to do whatever he wants with it. He's killing it, whatever. And like, when he says that to me, I'm like, thanks, man. Like, I really appreciate that. But then like days like today, when I'm walking to the dog park and I'm thinking like, damn, like, he's got DJs that have been doing this for 10 years and he's not giving them to anybody. Like, he's not giving that shift or opportunity to anybody. He's giving that to me. And like, I do fucking deserve that.
It's yours.
I've been working for this, and like, you know, as much as I'm not cocky and conceited, I definitely have to be a little bit more. It's that fine line, man. I care about what people think because I don't want to be perceived as I don't want people to have the wrong perception of me.
Right.
And so I feel like I tread lightly. I walk on eggshells with how I act in certain situations because of that. And, you know, I think when I'm by myself and I can reflect, I think to myself and I'm like, fuck yeah, I did deserve this.
Yeah.
Like I put my heart into this. Like I put my time into this, my energy, and
it's humble confidence, bro. And it's
oh,
like
yeah.
at the end of the day, and I told you yesterday, like you need that's your thing. You need to have your thing, right? And yeah, and it's because you see people who think like who are conceited and have an ego that they have. I like to say that it's an ego that they put forward. And I think everyone, especially in this industry, you need to have an ego to a degree. You need to have that confidence to say when you're being challenged, whether it's for what you're doing or who you are, you need to have that ego to where like, no, I know what I am and what I'm doing. But it's not the ego saying how great you are. It's not saying that. It's saying when I'm challenged. Like if someone were to say, oh, Jimmy, you're not a good DJ. So I'm like, actually, motherfucker, like, yes, I am. But that's only when you're challenged.
Yep.
Right? It's humble. Like you're humble and good person until you're challenged. Right.
Well, and I think mentally you need to, like, I got this tattooed on me. I think mentally you need to know your worth.
Exactly.
And I think it's, you know, you don't have to necessarily like brag. You don't have to be cocky about it. But like at the end of the day, know that, you know, you've put time and effort into this and but be a humble conceited person.
You put it through your actions.
Yeah.
Less more your actions, less your words.
Exactly.
You know, I think Smooth's a great example of that.
Oh my God.
He's a very quiet guy and you know, until you get to know him, and then but like he comes off quiet. You don't really hear him say much about himself or anything like that. And I think honestly, Nine's the best example of that too. You know, he's one of the nicest dudes in the world. He's actually the first person I met in the industry, like in terms of getting myself into the scene. You know, and he just told me just be a good fucking person. It's really that simple. Yep. It's you know, it's like obviously hone your craft, but be a good person because you see that shit. And you see people do certain things, and you're like, kind of turns you off to them a little bit.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
But dude, honestly, Jimmy, like, what are you most grateful for in your life today?
I'd say I'm most grateful for my story and who I am. I wouldn't be me if I didn't go through what I went through when I was younger, and I wouldn't react to things and act certain ways if I didn't go through that. And you know, it's easy to look like glass half empty, half full, and like I like to say, like I'm grateful that I went through shit. I'm grateful that I did so other people didn't have to, and I'm grateful that it shaped me to be who I am. And I'm grateful to be alive, man. Grateful to be alive. We are so blessed. We get to wake up every day. We get to breathe. We get to drink water. We get to talk to our friends. Like, yeah, man. We are so blessed as human beings to be able to do this every day. And like, there was this podcast with Theo Vaughn and who's the dude? Who's the guy that's he's an astrophysicist? Neil deGrasse Tyson. Right? Yeah. And he was like, dude, the odds of you being on this earth and being the one like swimmer that made it through and actually was born and is still alive to this day, and it's astronomical. You can't even fathom how much. You know what I mean? And like, so for you to even be waking up in the morning, you need to be grateful. And you know, yeah,
good, man. And that's what's important. And I've learned that it's the little things that add up to the big things. You know, when you think too grand scale, you get yourself all messed up, get yourself paralysis, and like I said, man, just consistency. That's all it is, and that develops everything else around it, you know, and naturally builds up because like I said, we're creatures of evolution. So, you know, being grateful every day, the little things, waking up, drinking water, taking a deep breath, and it's the little things. It's super, super important. But Jimmy, I want to thank you for coming on the pod, bro.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. You just taught me my purpose in life right now. So I appreciate it, man. You, of course. The conversations we have are not like surface, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I really appreciate you as a friend and as a colleague in the DJ space as well. Always, like, you know, good people meet good people, man.
Yeah, man. And then one thing I'll say to you is I'm happy you made the decision you made to pursue your purpose and what you're doing. I think you know, it's gonna ultimately pay off for you, because like I'm very good with my intuition and who I put myself around, and as me and you began to connect recently, I've noticed just how like good of a person you are, like just as a like genuinely, and also like I respect your hustle and your dedication, and like I'm that's why, you know, you were the first person I thought of when I couldn't do the MMA, John. Like you're the first person I texted.
Yeah.
Because I see your I see like your passion, how much you're passionate about it, and what you truly want to do, and I just respect that. And like I said, just recognize it's real, and I'm just, you know, grateful that, you know, you even came out to Celtic, or even, you know, like seeing you, like we all got super hyped when you came, and you know, I'm just grateful that, you know, me and you connected, and I'm happy that you made that choice you made, and I'm happy that you're choosing yourself, and you know, just know that it's gonna work out. That's all I'll say. It's gonna work out, because if it's something that you truly want to do, it's gonna work out. It always does, and because it has to, right? It's you know, it has to, and you're doing the right things, and you're just keep doing what you're doing, bro. Just don't change, and I'm glad we connected, and I'm glad to see where our relationship goes, and fuck it.
Let's grow, man. Let's grow. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for coming on, Jimmy. So where can they find you on social media?
It's at the JimmySix. We're gonna put that right here.
But right there, it'll be linked in the description. And I guess I should ask this beginning, where did your name even come from?
I'll do the quick story. I worked at Home Depot when I was at Bethlehem. You could put anything on your apron, and I did James. I've always been James till I was 20.
Yeah.
Then I did Jim. Tried to be like an old man named Jim at Home Depot. My buddy looked at me and he goes, "Yo, why don't you put Jimmy from the Six?" I said, "What?" He said, "Like the 610, Jimmy from the Six." I said, "Damn, that sounds great. I've never had a nickname.
It's kind of lit.
This is fire." Came to Philly as Jimmy. Nobody ever knew me as James when I moved here. And people would come to the bar and say, "Yo, it's Jimmy from the Six," because that was my Instagram. And then when I was trying to DJ, I was like, that's way too long of a fucking name, bro. And I wanted to do JimmySix, and you know, I almost didn't because of 9. I didn't want to like bite off of his style, yeah, JimmySix, man. Find me on socials. Find me anywhere. I'm outside.
Oh yeah. Hey man, I appreciate you coming on, and Bobby, shout out to the Bobby in the background, Board Creative. I'm gonna put his shit in the description too. He's producing this episode today, and I'm just grateful for you guys, and fuck it, it was good, man. I enjoyed it. It was everything I wanted it to be. So hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, please like, comment, subscribe, and if you guys were new, this is your first episode, thank you, welcome. And if you're not new, thanks for tuning back in. I'm Kev Nichols at JimmySix. Peace, guys.